Libeco is a Belgian weaving company specializing in flax linen based in Flanders, the traditional flax growing region of Europe that includes Holland, France and Belgium, and boasts over 160 years of experience in the field. Sustainability is in Libeco's DNA, since flax is a naturally eco-friendly material, given its green farming practices and the ability to process it in very environmentally mindful ways. Let's learn more about Libeco and their commitment to circularity in discussion with Catherine Richardson, Libeco's Vice President of Sales. Hello, Catherine. Welcome to our series on circular design.
Thank you so much for having me. I really am looking forward to this discussion.
Thanks for being here. Could you introduce yourself and Libeco?
My name's Catherine Richardson, and I have been working for Libeco, an over 160-year-old Belgian linen weaver. We are based in Flanders, which is the traditional flax growing region of Europe, in a small town in Belgium called Libeco. I work out of our satellite office in New York for sales and marketing and sell to companies who buy piece goods linen, linen blends, and also a finished product line called Libeco Home, which is products for the home, sheets, blankets, accessories, etc.
So how did you get into the textile industry?
Textiles has always been a secret passion. I've always loved home products, and I began my career in retail in home. Throughout my history, I've always gravitated towards companies with a sustainable aesthetic, with a passion for building quality products and producing something that had people in mind and healthy living. So for me, this is really a perfect job, but it does begin with a love of textiles and artisanal production.
Can you tell me about Libeco's commitment to sustainability?
Libeco has always had sustainability as part of its DNA. It really came from the use of flax. That's where linen comes from. It's a naturally ecological product, if not the most eco-friendly that you can get out there. The farming practices are very green. The production processes all can extend in very ecological ways. And the commitment Libeco has made to those processes are really what set us apart from many other linen producers. We went carbon neutral in 2014. We started a survey for a number of years that was designed to evaluate our carbon emissions. We're now completely solar and wind powered. We changed our vehicles. Whatever we could not change and reduce, we now offset. And we've invested in a healthy cooking stove program in Africa for that reason. So we are now carbon neutral. Net zero.
Did you see a need to invest in organic farming? And did it start with consumer demand?
We did invest in organic production a number of years ago and did so because our owners saw an opportunity to explore the future of what linen and flax could and should be, not because there was first the demand, which is normally how product development is done. So interestingly, we worked with a group of farmers in France. We brought an organic linen product to market, fabrics, and worked with them for 4 or 5 years to invest and subsidize them so that they could produce that organic product. It takes quite a long time to get the soil healthy enough to sustain itself with absolutely no added irrigation or pesticides or fertilizers for conventionally grown crops in general. And for flax that already uses such minimal amounts, it even took that long to invest for organic production, plus the process of getting certified. So we now have a global organic textile standard certified product, and now we're seeing demand meet that product, which was not what it was at the beginning. And we're hoping that we push the consumer demand further by having a product that's available, and eventually we hope all of our flax is grown with this organic standard and not only just the conventional methods, which are already very, very sustainable and green to start with.
Your artisans use a technique that is passed down over generations to create your linens. Tell me more about that.
We have found that artisanal farming methods help sustain an organic product. The crop rotation, as one example, is something that is not taught in conventional agricultural schools, but rather sourced from journals from farmers that pass down the methods we now employ in this organic farming. So that's one example. We also use the same methodologies in weaving that were used years and years ago. Now we certainly have updated them. So in combining available technology and improvements, we can certainly make a much better product, a more consistent product that we can manage with computerized systems, but it's still the same artisanal process.
That's so important. Transparency is at the forefront of everyone's mind when it comes to what products are made of. Where are your raw materials sourced?
Because we are a certified, authentic Belgian linen weaver, we are sourcing all of our flax yarns from Flanders, which is the region of Holland, France, and Belgium that flax is grown best in. It's an indigenous product to that region, so the best flax fiber comes from that region, which is why Belgian linen is really renowned. We have many partnerships throughout the yarn community, and we do source new yarns, fantasy yarns, for innovation to our products and for our linen blends. And those are also sourced in Europe. But it's a very transparent chain of command. It's all certified so that we know they're non-toxic, and it goes along with our OEKO-TEX certification and our GOTS certification when it is Global Organic Textile Standard certified.
Can you expand on certified renewable sources, eco-responsible production process, and environmental standards?
Certifications are really important and an easy way to communicate what standards a company adheres to, but it also can be a method of greenwashing. And we all, have seen that in our sustainability situations. And I think OEKO-TEX, I mentioned before, is one of those that we feel strongly about because it does measure the toxicity with a product and human contact through saliva, off-gassing through air, and through skin contact. So it's one of the ones we feel is most encompassing and pervasive. There are certainly many, many others. We're a gold certified Sustainable Furnishings Council member, which is really something we're proud of. And it allows for us to be transparent because our landing page on the SFC website will tell you all of the certifications that we hold and our sustainable practices. So it's a really great resource to see what companies are doing what and what plans we have in place to even be better.
Let's talk about water usage and finishes, as those play a role into the sustainability of a product more than people realize. What sustainable options does Libeco use for dye and anything else it applies to its natural fibers?
Laurence, you hit on such a big topic, and I think it's one that really needs more education, and that is how much water textile production takes. And certainly for flax, it's not in the growing, which is significant for other fibers, even natural fibers like bamboo, but it is in the processing of textiles. And water usage is a huge concern for Libeco. Our company owner has been researching waterless dyeing for years and looking at what will happen with the future of flax production as it relates to water and the dearth of water resources as we progress. It's the new gold. So water is very much a concern for us, as well as conditions for growing. As the climate does change and it gets warmer, the regions in which flax are grown are affected. And we do talk about that quite a lot, especially during the growing season. You'll see all of us concerned with what's the weather there, But there are lots of new technologies coming on board, like I mentioned, waterless dyeing, but certainly with lesser chemicals to be able to dye and finish, where they use less water or the toxicity is less because there's less dye stuff used. Like reactive dye is an update to traditional dyeing that doesn't use heavy metals or azo dyes, and certainly those are great investments so that the toxicity of a product is not affecting us in a negative way. And we feel so passionate about that in producing an ecological product. Because we are living and working in the same community, Europeans take for granted because they all have to be REACH certified. It's another certification that has to do with making sure chemicals are stored and used responsibly so they're not affecting the humans that are working with them or the environment where they're used. And that's so important for us living and working in the community, as well as producing a product that's non-toxic and certified so.
How does Libeco measure its impact? Can you share statistics about the measurable effects of your eco-friendly policies?
Sure. We have to go through certification every year for those certifications we do hold. So it is quite a bit of a process to undertake, and we have an internal control manager who does monitor those, and we have certificates that we post and we give to customers who ask for GOT certificates, Okotex certification. Cradle to Cradle certification is another one where our loom state is certified cradle to cradle. Also, we invest in studies to see that a yard of fabric, if left outside in open ground, fully disintegrates after 6.5 months. So we know a product is truly natural with no footprint left whatsoever after a certain period of time, and we can, through independent studies, point to things like that. We also take pride in the fact that if you compare buying the equivalent amount of flax or linen to that in cotton, you are actually saving about 650,000 gallons of water per year if you're investing in flax products versus cotton. Not to say cotton is not also improving, but we feel really great that linen is already ahead of the curve as an ecological product.
Beyond sustainability, is there investment and awareness of circularity at Libeco?
Yes, I think the circular economy and circular production is becoming more of a buzzword and an awareness in our home products, textiles, and furniture communities. Recyclable and renewable resources are now our number one source. It's not new materials anymore, it's reclaimed and recycled product. So we have to look in different ways in how to recoup what we are already using or recycle or upcycle. And at Libeco in particular, we do a lot that's, again, just part of the process for generations. For instance, vacuuming up all of the lint while the weaving or the warping is going on so that all of that lint is reclaimed and we can give it back to other industries to use in paper production, animal bedding, pet products, stuffing, insulation, cardboard materials. There's actually even 20% linen fibers in our American money, which is really cool. So it's used in all sorts of industries and every bit of the plant is used, obviously why linen is so ecological in the first place. But mills like ours are taking the cut selvages, the lint, all of those extra materials and using all of that by returning it back to our community to use in other industries. For us, circularity has a center, and that center is about people. And everything that goes on in our community is about keeping centered on that human part.
What is a circular challenge you are facing at Libeco?
I think the significance of the water usage for the future and our investment in technologies that will help us with global climate change. Farming is very much at the heart of our industry, and a small increase in temperature really does affect our whole industry. We'll see it more dramatically in other countries that have more volatile conditions for growing flax, where an immense amount of rain in one week and a drought in another week really drastically changes the color of the flax that's harvested. So the consistency during a growing and retting cycle is really important, and it's drastically affected by climate change.
Can you speak to your waste management and waste reduction policies?
Sure. When we looked at going carbon neutral years ago, we also looked at how we managed our waste, and we are very involved in recycling. And those aspects of taking the pieces of flax and linen production that we do not use to go back into the community are just the first part of it. Obviously, all of our recycling in the plant goes along with that. But then when we look at our finishing plants, they also are committed to recycling. And water, again, is a huge piece of this, where we draw the river water out of the local rivers for our water usage. It's cleaned and purified. It's used in our production and our dyeing and bleaching processes, which are all water-based, so there's no toxicity. And then afterwards, it's recycled again, cleaned, and put back in the river, cleaner than when it was originally taken out, which is a phenomenal advance in our technology of finishing processes. When we used to finish flax or start with the retting cycle, everything was done in the river. And gosh, that made for just terrible pollution. So we're proud that here again is a great mix of new technology and traditional methods, where we are doing a lot of recycling and waste management to benefit our environment and our product.
And what further circular practices are you hoping to include in the future?
We really aim for full production in an organic way. Conventional flax is so green to begin with, but if there are other things that we can do to improve that, we certainly will be investing for the future. One thing that I think we can greatly improve on is our packaging. We're researching biodegradable packaging, plastic packaging that's corn-based now, and hoping to marry good design with those ecological aspects. And as well, we also need to look for carbon neutral shipping. We grow in Belgium. The one piece of our production that's really not as sustainable as we could be is that we're not next door to every one of our clients. We have to get the product to them. And so we are shipping air freight. We are shipping via container in some cases. And so that carbon footprint we need to offset in some ways or find alternatives to be able to do. We consider flax the fiber of the future. Flax as a composite material is as strong as carbon fiber or glass fiber, but so much lighter. So it's being investigated for use in component parts for planes that would then make planes lighter and fly more economically in terms of energy. It would take less fuel to fly a plane that's significantly lighter. So those investments we're hoping will really help make some significant reductions in carbon and our footprint on the planet.
What are some applications at Libeco that you feel most proud of?
It's fascinating to me to see what people do with the linen because it can be everything. I see it in traditional environments, in contemporary environments. It's also traditionally been used as artist canvases. And it's also used in archival exhibits because it's naturally pH balanced. And because companies like Libeco don't do anything to add, we have a lot of conservators and galleries and artists working with our linen, which I think is kind of fascinating. It's a very traditional method or use of linen, and it's something that you don't necessarily think about.
How are Libeco's products used in the interiors industry?
We have linen used in wide ranges of interior projects, from traditional to contemporary, for drapery, for upholstery, pillows, rugs. Your entire room could essentially be of linen. And now we're seeing that flax composite used for manufacturing and molding of furniture, which is really, really cool. It is a product that makes your home beautiful because, again, it's much greener and safer and healthier for your home. I do notice a difference in coming home. There's this smell that's very earthy, but slight and no chemicals at all. It's really wonderful to have an environment like that. Really, there's an endless use to linen.
What trends do you foresee in the industry?
Well, we do see a push towards a little bit more traditional. Believe it or not, the new generation of designers seems to be gravitating back to some of those things that we grew up with in the 70s and 80s. More trim, for example, more interest in chintzes and a little bit more formal looks. I think to celebrate an interior and have a departure from the more lived-in looks that we've had in the last 10 or 15 years. I certainly think that people are craving a bit of color right now, but it will always be the traditional neutrals. It's just a shift versus gray, and now we're seeing more warm browns and warmer, comfy tones coming into play. So we see those as the main trends.
Anything else you'd like to share?
I think this has really been such a nice opportunity, Laurence, and I really thank you for inviting me to talk with you. Getting the education about natural fibers out is so important, and I hope my passion for this product that is sustainable comes across and inspires you to investigate more if you don't know about natural fibers or about linen or about Libeco. And go to the SFC website. You can see more about companies that do walk the walk and invest in this area, and just embrace living in a healthy environment at home. Now that we want these places to be safe havens for all of us and our families, I think it's more important than ever for us as consumers to drive that product development. Like I said before, if you don't ask, manufacturers more than likely won't make it. And so it's up to us to make sure we're asking for these things that we want and we know are better for us and our health.
And what is Libeco's legacy?
The legacy is really looking to be a part of a linen and flax community. Our owner, Raymond, is a phenomenal advocate for the industry and making sure that the health of Belgian linen, the truly artisanal methodology and investment in the techniques and looks and design, is really a part of what he does every day. Obviously coupled with advancing certain technologies and looking for the next trends and everything else. But I think the legacy really is to be able to pass this artisanal product and craft down to the next generation that I think our legacy will be known for.
And what a beautiful legacy. Thank you, Catherine. It's been such an interesting conversation. Thanks to Libeco's artisanal farming and processing techniques, their transparency about their methods, the multiple standard certifications they have earned as testament to their efforts, and carbon-neutral processes, Libeco has proven themselves a successful pillar of the circular furnishings community. We hope that Libeco continues to lead the way so other fiber and textile companies can follow in their footsteps and embrace more sustainable, circular, and regenerative practices in their own companies.